so many familiar faces and a few new ones, but I would say the majority are people that have really been a part of the tapestry of my community, and I feel really grateful that you all are spending the evening with me, so thank you so much for being here. I guess I am Dr. Melanie Ambler, but that sounds terrifying to me. But I am the founder of Musical Rounds, which is a music medicine nonprofit, and our goal is to bring live improvised music to patients and families so that no one experiences serious illness, terminal illness, alone. I thought I would kind of give you a slight background on how I got there, because our goal is really to attack this from all angles and think about building the research, the community, the training, and the public engagement so that this kind of work can become standard of care within our medical system. Where that started actually in Redding, Connecticut, with cello lessons by Marshall Wiley, with the EMS classes by Pam Goodpaster. A lot of people kind of built me up in my musical journey and my medical journey, so this is a really special place to be talking about the origin. I won't go back that far because we'll be here until midnight, but I will start on the first day of my clinical rotations in medical school. I just finished up at Stanford School of Medicine out in California, and the way that medical school is broken up is you have 2 years of preclinical coursework where you're in lecture classes, you're memorizing all these things, and then in your 3rd and 4th year you go to your clinical rotations. And that's where you put everything that you learned into practice. Oftentimes they kind of start you off with a really gentle rotation, family medicine, something outpatient. And I opened my schedule, and what did I see but Santa Clara Valley Medical Center trauma surgery. And I was terrified. And so I showed up on my first day of rotations with my little alpaca scrub cap. I walked in. The surgeons were relatively nice, but it's a hierarchical structure. For those that are in medicine, you know that there's the attending surgeon, then you have the fellows, then you have the resident, then you have the intern, and then you have the medical student. And usually it's 4th year med student, and then 3rd year med student, and then first day of rotations med student. So I was way down below, and we started rounding on our patients. And what that means is in the morning, for those of you that have been in the hospital, very early in the morning, we go and check on our patients, see what their pain, their stress levels are, what we can do for them that day. And on my 3rd day of rotations, we walked into the room. I was kind of the last dumpling going in. And we met a patient who had been in a car accident the night before. He broke his spine and shattered basically his entire left arm, his hand, his ulna and radius, and his humerus. And that's already a devastating injury. It's an even more devastating injury if you're a string musician, because your left hand is really what you use to play your instrument. And the first thing that he asked us when we walked in the room was, will I ever be able to play music again? And me, all the way in the back corner of the room, chimes in and I say, oh my gosh, what instrument do you play? And all the surgeons turn their heads and they say, why is the med student speaking right now? But they have to be polite, so me and the patient have a brief conversation about his music. And I learned that he's a pianist, he's a bassist, and a composer. And throughout the next few days, I shared that I was a cellist, and I would go back to his room and chat with him about music. And he asked me on multiple occasions, can you please bring your cello in? I want to hear you play. And I wasn't sure if my team would be comfortable with it, but then he kept asking and asking and asking. And finally, the chief of trauma surgery turns to me and she goes, Mel, I think you need to bring your cello. And so I did. And the first day that I brought my cello in, I put Shelby, this is not Shelby, but Shelby is my instrument at home, on the call room bed, did our rounds, went back to this patient's room, and met with the nurse outside, said, hey, can I offer music to this patient? He said, absolutely, but he's super annoyed today. And I said, okay. I walked into the room, and the nurse had told me that his IV pole was malfunctioning. And when that happens, nothing's wrong with the actual transfusion pump, but the alarm goes off all day, almost without stop. And for those of you that have heard that, it is horrible sounding. And so I went in. He was super surprised that I was going to play music for him. Start playing my first piece. In the middle of the first piece, starts going on. I'm sitting there trying to just get through this, really distracted. I finish. He's tense, he's annoyed. He's ready for me to leave. I get up, turn off the pole, ivy pole. I walk over, and I'm about to mute. And he looks at me, I look at him, and he's like, does she not know how to turn this off? And I say, bear with me. Listen. And as I started to listen, I realized the alarm and so I said, just humor me, sit down, close your eyes, and just go silent. See what happens. When I stopped the improvisation, I opened my eyes. I had closed them, and when I saw the patient again, his body had physically just relaxed completely into his bed, and he was sobbing. And he said, "Melanie, you just turned something so ugly into something so beautiful." And I said, "You're a musician, you're a composer. Whenever that thing goes off, just listen and sing along to it, compose something to it, entertain yourself with it." And that was really the start of the journey of creating musical rounds. That patient ended up really inspiring a year-long journey of arriving shamelessly to my clinical rotations with my cello on my back, which was met with some very confused looks, but that's okay. One of my residents said that she didn't know if I was incredibly weird or actually, like, legit. And she made that distinction later on. I'm not sure where she went, but that's what inspired me to actually take a year away from medical school. And I started musical rounds in a year off between that 3rd and 4th year of my clinical rotations. What that actually meant was that I had a research grant through the School of Medicine to research exactly what happened in that room. And what I decided to focus on was patients that were experiencing serious terminal illness or being seen by palliative care. The field of palliative care focuses on bringing comfort and quality of life rather than quantity of time for those experiencing serious diagnoses. They can be a part of a patient's journey from diagnosis all the way to final hours and minutes, really. And they're an amazing group of providers that provide really high quality and multidisciplinary care for patients and their families. And so I decided that this would be the population of patients that I was really interested in connecting with and seeing whether something like improvised music along to someone's life story could be something that could impact pain, stress, anxiety, and comfort in both patients as well as their families. And so I'll quickly kind of go through what that actually looked like and then provide some examples and some updates for where we are now. So that during that first year, I partnered with 3 different hospitals. We were at Stanford Hospital, the VA in Palo Alto, and Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, the 3 of which are very different types of hospital centers. Stanford is an academic institution, the VA is serving our vets, and then Santa Clara Valley is kind of a catch-all county hospital. And the referral team was really integral to actually finding patients that might be interested in this. So each day of the week, I kind of had a different day that was assigned to each hospital, and I would go into the palliative care team room. This is the amazing referral team at Stanford, and I would essentially ask them, hey, who do you think might be a good candidate for musical rounds today? And they would usually hand me a little sticky note with rooms on it, and I would essentially just lug my cello, a backpack, a stool through the hospital and go and meet people and see if they would be interested in a live session with musical rounds. What that actually looked like was, because this was a research study, we had to get consent. So there was a pretty long research consent form, a pre-survey that I asked people what their pain, their stress, their anxiety, their comfort levels were, as well as their musical history. We all, I think, one of the most unique identifiers of everyone in this room is your musical fingerprint. Like, if you were to open everyone's Spotify here, each one would be totally different. And I think it's a really fascinating thing to kind of get a feel for what makes people tick when they listen to music. We all self-medicate with music already, so it was helpful to learn that. Then I offered this live recording session. So I don't know if you can see exactly here, but on the left side you can see a little clip-on microphone here for my instrument, and then I had a small portable recording device that had a lav mic for any of the participants that wanted to record with me. So I would ask them questions about their life that they found meaningful, about favorite places, about favorite people, about their childhood, about how people might describe them or how they want to be remembered, if that was comfortable for them to talk about. And while they were speaking and sharing their story, I was internally thinking, okay, how could I translate what they're saying into a musical soundtrack of some kind? Sometimes the improvisations that came of that were quite short and sweet. Other times they were more extended. And the format of the session was quite fluid and organic depending on how open someone was or how much prompting was needed. Some people really just ran with it, and as soon as I left off, they continued their story, and we kind of had this really cool dialogue moving throughout their life. And so those recordings are just incredible to listen to. A part of the consenting process was that people could decide whether they wanted their recordings shared with other people. That's a big part of legacy building, which we talk a lot about in palliative care, is, you know, how do you want to be remembered? And do you want to be remembered for something in particular? And can I help you do that? And so this offered an opportunity for people to share their story with others. And it was not a requirement for participation, but I just offered that as an option. And I will share in a little bit just how many consented to that. Then I would go home and have kind of a post-production mixing section in my house where I would upload the recordings, and you can see this is a audio software called Logic, and you can upload different sound files and then adjust them and edit them. This is what a lot of like music producers use and things like that to balance recordings. And so you can see that on here I kind of chopped up a lot of different audio, and then you can see some fade-ins here. And we created kind of this buttoned-up recording to send to the patient and family as a gift for participating in the study. So they would have a memento of their session, and also for family members, oftentimes something to keep after their loved one had unfortunately passed away. That process was oftentimes a little bit emotionally difficult for myself because I had already kind of lived through the live session, and then I was going back and re-listening multiple times to make sure that the recording was in a good enough shape to kind of send back to someone. So I learned not to do it at home, actually, and would always bring my recordings to a library or to somewhere else, so that like home became a space where I felt good, because this work is heavy. I also normally do this at the beginning, but I was so filled with love that I didn't. We're talking about grief tonight. And I know we all have very personal experiences with grief. It's both a really individual and solo experience, but I think all of us have experienced it in some form. And so if at any time this becomes intense or you feel like you need to excuse yourself, please don't feel like you have to stay. Please take a moment for yourself. This next slide is going to be a recording of the patient sharing his story. I chopped it into kind of a smaller excerpt just for the purposes of time. But this man I met, his name is David. He was with his wife in the room and our social worker on the palliative care team. So we had a kind of a party session. And the social worker, when I went into the room, she said, Melanie, I actually kept him on the list an extra day just so you could meet him. So I already knew going in that, okay, this is going to be a person that was probably had a lot of stories to share. And so he started off the session by describing his youth in the UK when he would get drunk with his friends and wake up in the moats of different castles with bats flying overhead. Which was a little bit difficult to put into music, I'm not gonna lie. But then, Shayna, the social worker, turned to him and she said, David, tell us about your garden. And this patient was going home on hospice the next day, and his final wish was to get back to his garden. And he described a scene from his garden and his love for hummingbirds. And I just think it's one of the most beautiful portrayals of this magical bird. And so I hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna play along to it live. You're not gonna hear the music that I created because I have my wonderful cello teacher's cello, which is amazing. Thank you for living your cello, by the way. And so I hope you enjoy it. If you'd like to watch the hummingbird, you're welcome to, or just close your eyes and picture a garden that you love.
The hummingbirds are my favorite. And actually, I can't wait until my sister comes because I don't think she's ever seen a hummingbird live. So it'll be nice to sit down with her in the garden and wait till they come down. And yes, I do get a lot of peace out of just sitting outside, a little bit of sunshine, looking at nature, breathing clean air, best medicine in the world. Live the life of a hummingbird, flitting here and there through life. Sure, I'd love it. I would love it. Exactly. You've got the flutter in there, then you've got the coming in, zooming out, and then you've got the tranquil sections where I imagine them sitting on their feet or drinking nectar, so I see it vividly in my mind. Most amazing bird, I think in all the world, and there's hundreds of species, but the different varieties and the way of adapting, getting back to the flowers, long beats, shorter, fat beats. I find them amazing birds. And for the size, they only weigh a few grams. It's absolutely amazing what goes on in such a small mass. We all think of geese, eagles, even pigeons, but it doesn't come close to the amazing properties of a hummingbird. Tiniest bird of all, and yet, in some ways, the most powerful. It can go faster than almost any other bird. And that astounds me, it really does.
His wife wrote me an email a few days later. This recording hits hard for me, and I can speak for some of you. I think the hummingbird is such an incredible symbol of life and of death and of kind of miraculous engineering of wings. I don't know. And they've become something that I fixate on in everyday life. I have a hummingbird feeder now and watch them as I do my work at home. So I think it's, I'm wondering if it's a symbol for some of you all as well. This work kind of gained traction throughout the year as I did more and more of these sessions. I think people gravitated to the fact that this was kind of filling a really necessary gap within what was going on in our medical system currently. And that kind of transitioned to some invitations for some performances, which was really exciting. I had a chance to speak on a panel with Renee Fleming and Andrew Huberman about music and the mind, as well as some other events around the country to kind of introduce this as a field that should and can be taken seriously. And then I had a serendipitous encounter with a CBS News reporter, and she pushed this all the way to the national stage. And we were covered on CBS Mornings a few, I think around a year ago now. All with the purpose of really just kind of elevating the idea that music can serve as something incredibly therapeutic for people, and that we have to do the research from the medical side of things to be able to actually show that this does have an impact and that this can be replicable and scalable and reimbursed ultimately, hopefully, by insurance companies. It's a lofty goal, but one can try, right? And so I thought I would share with you a little bit about what we found. Because as much as, hearing the recordings is important and beautiful, I think it's also important to talk about what's actually happening for these people, right? And so throughout that year of recording live sessions, I did 100 recordings, met with 100 patients at the bedside, 87 loved ones, and 23 team members were a part of the session. So I always invited whoever referred the patient to join me in the room. And as I said before, we did this at 3 different hospital sites. Our youngest patient was 20 years old. Our oldest was 102. Had quite the span. The average length of stay prior to meeting people was 15 days. So oftentimes people that are experiencing serious illness are in the hospital for an extended period of time. They've been out of their bed or their house for over 2 weeks before they met me. 70 patients had a diagnosis that had to do with cancer. 14 patients were on comfort care, which essentially means that they have opted for only care that prioritizes quality of life and that is not invasive. 75% of people wanted their story shared with the public. Let that sink in for a second. 75 out of 100 people who were hurting, who were vulnerable, not at home, not in a place where they were comfortable, wanted me to take whatever recording they shared and put it out into the world. I was shocked by this number. I'm not sure if it shocks some of you, but I think it also hits at a fact of, I think we as humans really want to tell our stories, right? We want to share it with other people. And so I'm feeling kind of really beautiful pressure from these people to honor those recordings and share it with people. What we ended up finding was that patient pain, stress, anxiety, and comfort all significantly improved over the course of the session. For those of you that are not science folks, the different asterisk values are the different levels of significance. A p-value of less than 0.001 is like the most significant that you can have, and every single outcome showed that. So we had a 36% decrease in pain, 60% decrease in stress, 59% decrease in anxiety, and 24% increase in comfort. And this was actually just recently studied or published last week in the Journal of Palliative and Supportive Care. So we can say that it's been peer-reviewed and validated by the Academy. Family stress, anxiety, and comfort levels also significantly improved. Pain, not as much, just because I think the physical pain involved was lesser. But if you actually toggle back and forth, if you look at the green and the blue lines in the middle of the graph, you can actually see that family pre-stress and anxiety start off quite a bit higher than patient. And so that points pretty significantly to the fact that we should be including families in this kind of work. There was 26% decrease in pain, even though it wasn't significant, 47% in stress, 48% anxiety, and 29% in comfort. These are some quotes from patients about their pain. I didn't feel any pain while she was playing. And the patient's family member said getting her to say that she had no pain and she forgot all about it, that's a miracle in and of itself. Stress definitely came down. And feeling increased relaxation. Feeling the session went really good. I'll let you keep reading. And then we had expressions of gratitude. And I thought I would let this man share it with you in his own words.
Well, once again, thank you for doing that just for me. I'm glad that you're doing this study. Because I would have went through the rest of this day just, not knowing what to do or think about anything. And you doing that, wow, just brightened my day so much. You're welcome.
So the impact of these sessions, I think I can say now after hearing from a lot of families, extended far beyond the actual in-person session. And a portion of that was really having the opportunity to share these kinds of sound bites with people like yourselves. And so how that's evolved since that first 100 recording sessions is that I decided that this work couldn't stop there. I really wanted to put that research into practice and start to build out the other areas that are needed in order for this work to grow. And what that's looked like is starting a nonprofit. And so the way that I'm trying to approach it is very intentionally and from a few different angles. So I'll share very briefly about the different angles. And then I do want to leave time for questions because I want to hear all of your voices because I haven't seen you in forever. The first portion that I think you all can probably guess or have heard about is the Musical Rounds podcast. We're launching on June 2nd, which is very exciting. And I've been able to, through some sponsorships and fundraising, bring on a creative team. So I'm not alone anymore in this work. And I have an amazing group of 3 other individuals, one of whom's mom is here. Michael's mom is here. And Chase is our annotator, so what he's doing is he's going back into all those recordings that I took and listening to them with fresh ears and essentially providing notes and annotations for our producer, who is Grace, to go through those recordings and really find the kind of like golden excerpts that feel like the essence of what the patient shared. Our goal as a team is to put people in their best light and to really share the things that give them meaning, and they're doing an incredible job. And Michael is our amazing audio engineer. He's taking the clips that Grace creates and making them beautiful, doing them justice, and making them more publicly consumable. So, Michael's mom, if you want to wait. I don't know where she went. Maybe she's still down. But anyways, it's been an amazing process to actually bring other people onto the team. What we've also started doing is offering training programs. So my goal as a musician clinician is to excite other professional musicians, other musician med students, other musician clinicians to bring their instruments to work, or to think about what their career could look like if they are a musician playing one-on-one for someone, because that's a very different kind of training and experience than if you're playing for a massive audience and performing a set list of repertoire. And so I have a 2-hour kind of springboard training for anyone that wants to learn more about having social impact in healthcare. One of our trainees said that it made them reconsider kind of the nature of the sessions that they give, and that they love the idea about it being primarily a conversation with an opportunity to connect through music rather than a performance. We also have a partner with another nonprofit called Project Music Heals Us, and I've contracted with them essentially to train all of their incoming musicians, and they said that it's transformed their ability to connect with patients, empowering them to create meaningful interactions that combat patient isolation. So now we're starting to build community, right? There's more people being trained, more people interested in this work, but there's no community, so why not make community chats? So essentially I've started offering like monthly 1-hour-long Zoom calls for anyone in the field of music medicine or interested in the field. We've had 3 sessions so far, and already 98 people across the US have signed up, across 20 different states. And so they are from students all the way up to retired musicians, a mixture of medical students, musicians, music therapists, nonprofit leaders, physicians, social workers, nurses, whoever wants to come, dancers. Michael is on there. So it's been an amazing opportunity to really connect with people and start to discuss the larger issues and questions within the field. Sorry, losing my voice. Just want to extend my gratitude to our medical and musical teams. So we had our medical partners, as I described before, as well as our music partners through Project Music Heals Us and other partnerships with the Honeywell Arts Academy and Amplify Foundation. As I said before, we also have recently become a nonprofit and have some sponsorships. Stanford Medicine and the Gold Foundation have been our research sponsors, and the Peak 2 Foundation and Healing Hands Scrubs are going to be our podcast sponsors. And lastly, Shelby, who's my partner in crowd, who can't be here tonight, she's my cello. This wouldn't exist without her, to be honest. So she gets a shout out. And lastly, a thank you from the bottom of my heart to the patients and loved ones that trusted us to record their stories and put them to music. And thank you to you all. I'd like to close off this evening with, actually, this is the first time that this will ever be played for an audience, so bear with me. It's a rough cut, so it hasn't been mixed and mastered by Michael yet, so excuse some of the ugly transitions. But seeing as we're launching our podcast in 2 weeks, actually, exactly, on June 2nd, I wanted to share with you the rough cut of our trailer. It will feature a lot of different voices. You'll hear from a lot of different people, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope it makes you want to listen to more of the podcast, and that it gives you some other reflections on what we discussed tonight. There are no visuals for this, so if you'd like to close your eyes and just see where people take you, I invite you to do that.
Welcome to Musical Rounds. My name is Melanie Ambler. On this podcast, people with serious illnesses share their life stories, and we transform them into musical soundtracks.
Music has always been a part of me through my ups and downs. It's healed me.
Recorded live at the hospital bedside in a single take.
I'm hoping I left on the best of terms with everybody, and people will miss me, which I find comforting, you know.
Our patients tell you their story, unscripted, in their own words.
Oh, I used to love when I was a kid backpacking throughout the Sierras. That's the space I want to be in, on an adventure.
Together, we reflect on life, love, loss, laughter.
I think the most important thing to this man is that he can love the unlovable. And that was me.
I listen to music when I'm down, when I'm in love. Listen to music when I'm happy, when I'm excited. Music is everything.
I can't change this outcome, but I hate it. And I hate that I'm not going to be in his arms every night. Death and dying is not negative. You come to learn that, hopefully.
Oh, you transformed me. I was fine.
Each episode features one patient, their story, and the original music we created together in the hospital room.
And I'm walking on that path, and it is so gorgeous, and I feel so close to the Lord, and I feel so thankful for the beauty He gave us, even in these really hard times.
New episodes will release every Tuesday morning.
I was initially reluctant to do this, but I'm so glad to do this. This is amazing.
Musical Rounds, coming June 2nd.
Beautiful. I never thought I would have this experience today.